What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily podcast, powered by Anijar and Levine Accident Attorneys. It is Wednesday. You know what that means. Me, Mike Ryan, and of course, Peter Reese. Pete, hop in.
Pete, hop in.
I'm not going to waste any
Get
time.
Get in here,
today.
bright eyes. What's up there? No scarf?
No scarf. It was a rough week last week.
It was. Hey, what a run. What a run. I think you guys need to make some signings, right?
Yeah, not everyone could be Man City and spend 200 in the January window and still be fighting for.
You guys usually shop in the bargain bin. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
you just tamper for 3 years, wait till someone's out of contract, and get them at a deep discount, kind of rigging the game.
Listen, man. Trent is we're waiting for him, but you're talking like this is dirty business over here. I don't like it.
No, they do dirty business over there in La Liga. Barca is a primary offender. You guys are second.
So, guys, tell me about growing up in Europe and following these clubs and just living and dying with your city's club and the colors of.
Well, as you know, I'm Chelsea till I die.
So that was that
London, yeah.
London. What neighborhood in London?
Fulham district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that like a working class? Like
very
the
posh.
Rich people?
Very posh. Yeah, very posh.
Got it. So what was it like growing up there? How'd you lose your accent so fast?
My friend group down here. I was there when I was very young. No, I understand. These are brand recognized football clubs. It's not. I was not born in it. But boy, am I glad. Although, unlike most people, I actually worked with the club. So I get to tout that. In terms of bona fides, I spent several years working alongside Chelsea FC in a dream job. So
wasn't born into it. Hey, listen, you don't have to be born into it to be married to it.
There you go.
That's the wonderful thing.
Wise words over there from Peter Ariz. Sorry to give you the rib. It's just you were in cosplay last week, so I wanted to go ahead and address that. But we got a lot going on right now. Miami Hurricanes going to be taking number 1 overall in the NFL draft. I haven't said that in a grown man voice in my entire life. I want to say that sentence one more time because it's not something I've said with bass in my voice before. A Miami Hurricane is going to be taken number 1 overall in the NFL draft. It's going to be Cam Ward, who had a brilliant season, Heisman finalist, led Miami to one of its best seasons in the 21st century. I'm pumped. I want to see what this feels like. We've been talking about it for months. We all love the kid. I want to see what this moment is like and what it feels specifically. I mean, we've seen number 1 picks at quarterback make that walk, do the hug. It's not very often that we've seen a Miami Hurricane even in that building. They're not getting picked that high enough. I want to see. This is going to be something new that Canes fans get to experience. I'm pretty pumped about it.
Yeah, I've said those words. A Miami Hurricane's going to go number 1, but then they end up kind of having lackluster finishes and going.
Then it's Brad Kaya.
Yeah, so it doesn't work out.
Then it's Tyler Van Dyke.
But with respect to Cam Ward, I mean, first of all, great representative, someone you want to symbolize what Miami is, just from a personality standpoint, performance standpoint, the way he plays the game. I mean, that's who you want to showcase to America as a Miami Hurricane. Mario Cristobal is not wasting any opportunity. He's going in front of every microphone there is this week, kind of not gloating is the wrong word, but definitely pushing the brand alongside Cam Ward. So that's good to see. He's taking advantage of the opportunity. I saw an interview with Jackson Cantwell, and we'll talk about him in a little bit, on one of these Springfield, Missouri newspapers.
Potentially another number 1 overall.
Oh, well, that's what Trills was being sold there. And they asked him, the reporter for the Missouri paper asked him about Cam Ward going number 1. And he rattled off like all the Miami offensive linemen that get drafted in the next couple of years. So he was tuned in, but that's definitely going to be a selling point, I think, both nationally and through the staff for these prospects.
I have a sneaky take that I don't think Canes fans are fully prepared for how this is going to hit them. I do think that some people might even get a little emotional watching those highlights, understanding that we were maybe too close to it last year. You get some distance from it, and you see some of those moments. The Cal highlights are going to be popping back. You're going to be like with your boys at the ale house or whatever, saying, "Oh my God, do you remember that play?" Like, I don't think we're fully prepared for how this feels like because it's truly very foreign to us. We haven't been that program for a while. We haven't been waiting for the guy that's in the building to walk up and give the bro hug to Roger Goodell, and never mind that person be a quarterback and go number 1. So I think tomorrow's going to be really cool for Canes fans. And then we start looking towards the tail end of that first round and see, like, can we get another guy in there? Certainly by day 2, we'll see plenty of other Miami Hurricanes go off the board. But this is, I mean, the NFL draft was so long for Miami Hurricanes fans to be a disappointment and just another reminder of how far the program had fallen off. This is really tangible evidence that everything's on an upward trajectory and that a recruiting-based head coach is going out there and starting to get the type of talent that is being respected and recognized at the next level, Pete. I know you've done the draft process as an agent before. You're doing the insider thing right now. Miami's being talked about in ways from personnel guys that they haven't since the turn of the century.
Yeah, I mean, look, as we've said, obviously after Cam and Arroyo, there is a bit of a drop-off. I don't know there's going to be, too much action after that until like the 4th round. But so I think there's still a bit of a gap there. But there's definitely, from the time Mario came into Miami, the scouts understood that the body types were going to be different. I think, unfortunately, the way the scouts talk, they are also saying, well, there's a lot of talent in Miami. They probably should have been in the playoff. That's how scouts talk. So there is that sentiment as well, but it's trending where it needs to be.
I mean, they should have. We all know this. You can put it on the CFP. You can put it on blowing 2 games by the combined score of 9 points. But yeah, and another thing that you're hearing from personnel people is like, where did it go wrong for this guy? He's got the measurables, and especially in that secondary. I mean, it's fair to question the type of coaching that people got. I was talking to a Georgia Bulldog fan, and they're like, talk to me about this Horton guy and talk to me about this Harris guy. I'm like, you may get a different product over there. Miami fans aren't sold on these guys. We'll see, but I can't really pound the table for Miami's development.
And I'll say this, just from a bottom, just from the very basic differences in what Mario has done. And this may not be relevant to people now, but when the previous staff, when the Manny staff was in here and I was, on the agency side, I would tell you all the time, man, scouts are just saying this is it's not being run correctly. Right. And it doesn't, the way that things are running in there are not how a top flight organization at the college level, top flight program should be run. With Mario, you don't hear that. Now, there's always going to be people who have their opinions on how many games a team should win based on the talent they have. But you're not hearing that it's a Mickey Mouse organization, which you heard all the time when Manny was here. Now, again, Manny's doing good things at Duke, right? That's not really relevant to what this is, but I'm just saying from that standpoint, the scouts who are there seeing other programs across the country, it's run like a top program should be run.
Pete, I sent a tweet to the private chat. So in the comments, they're talking about apparently update here. Jackson Cantwell.
Yeah, the comments are on fire for Cantwell.
Moved his commitment date back to May 13th. He's going to take an unofficial to Yuga as well. So now he's visiting Oregon this week.
Yuga?
Georgia?
Can we talk about that real quick, Mike?
I've never heard them called Yuga, but I think I like it.
Yeah, Yuga.
I've always heard people say UGA. I've never heard anyone say Yuga.
They use an extra syllable for no reason.
And wouldn't it be Uga?
No, you could have like a strong U.
I gotta
Isn't
be honest.
that what their mascot's name is?
Yeah, the mascot. Oh, Uga.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would be Uga.
Uga. No,
but then he's taking a visit to a dog. What I'm saying is
Yuga.
I've never heard that before. I've just never heard that.
We're here to innovate. We're wordsmiths out here. So May 10th, unofficial visit to Yuga. Commitment date, May 13th. Says, sorry for the delays. Had to make sure I did it right the first time. Still decided between the same list. I mean, I don't know. I know I'll get the latest on this whole development. Here's what I can say for sure that I know of. I know Miami's been very confident on Cantwell, and I have not seen a decrease in that confidence at all. I watched an interview maybe a couple days ago with Cantwell, and
it was wild, dude.
I watched an interview with Cantwell and the local beat writer who has a long relationship with from Springfield. I'll get his name. I'm sorry for not identifying the writer.
Honestly, we're all a little rattled after you got.
But
I'm going to Google and see if this is a thing, though. You might be right.
Anyways, so Wyatt Wheeler was the interview for what's the publication? The news leader out there in Springfield, Missouri. And
I'm going to ask ChatGPT.
Basically, what he said was he didn't care about track, which is a big news to me, hearing Cantwell say, listen, this guy's the best young thrower in the country. He says, I'm not making my decision based on track. And you could tell he's being genuine. And he wants to focus on offensive line development. Clearly, the best offensive line development school of those three is Miami. Georgia's offensive line was incredibly disappointing this year. Quite frankly, one of the worst in the SEC. Oregon, offensive line, I'd also say was a weakness there. The right tackle struggled all year. Connerly, very talented. He could go late first. He should be going top 10, kind of an underachiever. So in that respect, Miami is the best for the criteria he laid out in the interview. And the interviewer asked him, hey, Miami's the farthest of these schools. And the guy quickly corrected him and said, no, it's actually Oregon. So when you watch that interview, the impression you get he's going to Miami just based on the interview. I can tell you on the Miami side, extreme confidence, but he's moving back his date again. He said, I'm going to take a visit to Oregon first, moved it back. Now he's going to Georgia and moving it back. My read on this is I don't think Miami was in a hurry to have him commit in the first place. So I don't think Miami is telling him, don't do those visits. They know they have to get through them, but it's not like Miami is freaking out. And from the Cantwell side, this is not your average kid. Thought being the number one player in the country. He's got 2 Olympic parents. He's visited a ton of schools. You hear him talk. This guy had 33 ACT when he was like a freshman, very smart. So he's making the decision as intelligently as he can. So I don't read too much into it. If I hear something different, I will let everyone know. But based on what I know to date and just kind of what I've read and seen, this does not strike me as a major negative development.
D-Money is as plugged in as anybody is on this beat. And I know we're just a couple minutes removed from him calling UGA Yuga, but don't hold that against him. Now, I did ask ChatGPT. No one calls it Yuga. It's just UGA.
Did you? Well, what about Grok? Did you ask Grok?
Yeah, I didn't ask Grok. I'm not really on the Grok paywall thing.
What did it say?
You may want to check that one out there for me. But if you've encountered the term Yuga, it might be a misinterpretation or typographical error of UGA. There's just no evidence that suggests anyone makes it with like a U sound, like a YU beforehand.
So they say an extra syllable.
They say UGA
every day.
Or dogs.
Yeah, UGA. So you say that
for the dogs
over the course of a lifetime. How much time did you waste that you could have been spending with your kids or with nature?
I mean,
pronouncing a third syllable that you don't need.
They could say Georgia, same amount of syllables as Yuga.
They could say Georgia,
which is what they also. It also volunteers that they say UGA, Georgia, dogs, but I mean,
Georgia
maybe
being a state, it's also the actual state.
Yeah, I know. I get.
Not the school.
I get why you would want to call them Yuga. It's just not something I've ever heard before.
EJ says, "Weren't we confident with JJ?" ?
Yeah,
I mean, for Thieves in the Night, yeah, we were. I think the dynamic is a little bit different here. Miami's perceived to be in catbird, and holding other people at bay. The JJ thing was like. Miami was confident that it had a shot. And towards the tail end of that
on
pursuit,
signing day, Miami had a shot.
Yeah, towards the tail end of that pursuit, Miami was feeling good because the very nature of having those conversations at the time that they were happening. But it wasn't, this is more prolonged. Miami had a very different, I mean, D-Money, you know those two pursuits better. I'd say Miami's position in this pursuit is way different than it was with JJ, where they always felt like they were chasing and they had a shot to flip them, but it was very much like a flip rather than a keep our guy.
Yeah, I think different processes, different people involved. But yeah, they were confident there. They were confident with David Stone. David Stone was going to pick Miami. His family had Miami.
EJ's not buying it.
And he picked Oklahoma, on the stand. And then jumped in the portal and went back in. I mean, he was like Julia Roberts in that movie where she keeps running away from the
Runaway Bride.
That's David Stone.
She was in that movie where she was a bride, but she kept running away. What was it called?
David Stone is Julia Roberts in that movie. So you never know with these kids. I think with Cantwell, I would implore anyone who's interested in this recruitment to watch the interview. It's posted on CanesInsight.com, 7 million posts and counting. And we posted the interview for free. You just watch it for free. And it was that to me told me a lot about the process. The guy talks like, I don't know, a politician. I mean, he's very, slick talking guy, smart. And he,
you're going to believe a slick talker, man.
He comes across genuine.
I think King slick talker. He loves those. I'm going to ask like a Georgia friend. I'm going to send him a voice note with how you pronounce it.
Christianville says, don't we say MIA sometimes? We do, but that's not, we don't say Mia. Like D said Yuga.
Name. Does anyone ever say Yuga on the boards? Is this
so? A lot of Kenye Pepe.
About to change the game right now, by the way. If they don't, they will. And just remember where it started. The U for Miami didn't become the U until you had Ryan Moore throw it up after a touchdown. Then Kellen Winslow referenced it after, or
It
I
was
guess
it was a turn of the
first it was
century
Winslow.
thing. It was a turn of the century thing.
First, it was Winslow knocking someone out for Tennessee, saying he doesn't care. He's a soldier. We don't care about anybody but this U. And then Ryan Moore used the symbol, and after that, you had the U.
Mhm.
So we'll see if there's a turning point in Georgia sports. We started playing a lot worse after we started calling ourselves the U.
Mhm.
That was kind of the same time that we declined as a program. So maybe Georgia will suffer.
What's
when this
going on
Uga
there
stuff
with getting
catches
Horton?
fire.
What's going on? Like they get Horton, they got Colby Young before. Like I
Price tag. So you
but no, but it's just are they all right? Like because Jaden Harris and Horton, like
No,
Miami.
Horton's at Bama.
Oh no,
Josh Horton.
Oh, Josh Horton. Sorry.
Yeah, these aren't players that Miami fans were sad to see go. Now they could still turn out to be good players. You can certainly say that Miami's development at those positions wasn't good enough, but this doesn't seem like an SEC powerhouse that's been running that conference, for the last 3-4 years type of move.
Well, it's like, again, think of it like free agency. You see the Patriots bring in guys when they were rolling that were not at the height of their stock, and they still brought him in for cheaper. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes.
Okay.
You see this happen. So it's not like Josh Horton, what he was out of high school to Miami. It's the same as Josh Horton, what he is to Georgia right now. Jaden Harris, what he was as a starting player for us this year to what he is to Georgia next year. So that's kind of how it all works out. It's more about what they are. What's their role? What's their money? What's their situation coming in?
I guess it could be looked at as an encouraging sign. I always perceived a talent gulf between the two programs until very recently. And it's just weird to see players that most Miami fans would argue, especially in Jaden's case, like they're happy to see go. And for them to, even if they're like bodies on a depth chart over there, for them to be like brought in by the reigning SEC champions, that is certainly a sign of the times. Like the gulf in terms of talent keeps shrinking year over year to the point that they're getting, I don't want to be crude to some of these people, but guys that didn't have a position here at Miami before. And my first thought is, what's going on in Georgia? But I should probably start thinking, I'm like, Miami's elevating the talent down in Coral Gables.
On offense, for sure. I think I know Carson Beck is going to play with better players this year than he played with last year. I can say that with 1,000,000% confidence. Georgia's running game was terrible last year. Their offensive line was one of the worst in the SEC, and their receivers led the nation in drops. I think CJ Daniels would have been the best receiver for Georgia. Their best receiver was Colby Young, who we saw in Miami would have been
same case.
He would have been fifth last year on our roster.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't have last year's receivers, but even then, I still don't think they had anything at receiver that we wanted. So, and certainly not a tight end. So I think Georgia's offense last year, Beck is going to play with much better players this year. Defensively, I think there is still a gulf. You're going to see Jalen Carter drafted in the first round, Michael Williams drafted in the first round, Malachi Starks drafted in the first round. That's 3 just on defense. So I think you're still seeing that. But, a Ruben Bain could have gone to Georgia, a Hayden Lowe, an Armando Blunt, a Justin Scott, a Marquise Light, but those guys could have been Georgia Bulldogs. Talking about like a Xavier Lucas, he'd start for Georgia right now. OJ Frederick probably be in that mix. Zechariah Poyser, the freshman that we brought in,
they wanted him.
Freshman All-America, from Jacksonville State. He would have started for Georgia this year if they got him, but we won that battle. Same with Ethan O'Connor, the corner we brought in. That was a Georgia battle, which we won. So you're seeing guys that we got that they wanted. Now, you got to make a play like that and develop them to that level and then get backups. They're going to push them because Georgia's not just a few players. It's a layer of players and then guys pushing up. But with the portal, I think you're seeing a lot of those guys transfer out that aren't playing. And that's why you see a Jaden Harris or a Josh Horton as depth as opposed to, some 5-star they just signed.
Yeah. I do want to track back to when Pete invoked the previous Horton here. How much better would you feel about Miami's weapons if Zay Horton stayed? Like, given the talent that you saw over at the spring, I think that there are some people that are just going off of what they saw last year. Maybe not his final moment in Miami uniform. That was regrettable, but you saw the season that he had. You saw a guy that was actually developing. We probably omitted him in last week's conversation when we were talking about Miami's improved player development because Isaiah Horton was actually a really bright spot there. That was a player that got better year over year. Where would he slot if he were on this roster? Because I know I would feel better if he were on this roster about the outside weapons available to Carson Beck. Would he be wide receiver 1 if he stayed?
he'd be where certainly where CJ Daniels is. I think CJ Daniels for Horton was kind of a 1-for-1. Horton would have come in healthier. Daniels was coming in off surgery. I think he's fine right now. So we'll see how it looks in camp, but probably in that role. And then JoJo Trader would be the guy with a chance to elevate, and you'd bring in someone in the slot.
Is that a political answer? Do you think he'd be wide receiver 1?
I don't know, because JoJo Trader has improved quite a bit.
Yes.
Zay Horton would be wide receiver 1.
Yes, because I'm expecting him to continue. And based on what I'm seeing from Bama and reading from their reports, he's been balling over there in the spring. So why wouldn't he take a leap when he did it every year?
Yeah, it's a great point.
I mean, I would say yes.
We were the first to talk about this. The first time we saw him in spring, we came on this show and said Isaiah Horton's making a leap. So I get it, and I like Isaiah Horton. And it looks like he's making those strides at Bama, and he has a quarterback that knows him. But JoJo Trader, the leap he made from freshman to sophomore was much bigger than what Horton made at the same time. Horton made that leap the next year. And just from a talent standpoint, from what I've seen from JoJo at the high points, he just has more talent than Horton. From what I've seen at the absolute high points.
Okay.
He has just more body control, more fluidity in terms of getting open.
I'm not arguing that, but the physical, the gulf between those two from a strength standpoint, and look, JoJo, I think that's been the biggest difference for him, and why he had a strong spring was because he added probably 15 pounds of weight from his freshman year, and that's why we didn't see that much of him last year either. But I still think there's, like, we know what Horton was, which was obviously better than what Trader was last year, and I still think that he's got development to go. Like, I get what we're saying about the talent, but for next year, for this offense, Horton would have been wide.
It would have been nice to have the proven commodity that, like, there's a great deal of unknown around CJ Daniels, whether he can be the player that he was at Liberty, whether his body can bounce back, because that is an injury that does affect your fast twitch. We're projecting on JoJo Trader. It's a lot of ifs. Now, last year, a lot of the ifs cashed. And then some of them, like the chickens came home, like on the secondary. I would have loved to have entered this season with a more proven commodity like Zay Horton there, because I think if he were here in spring, we'd be talking about how great he looks, how he's locked in as wide receiver 1. And the JoJo Trader thing is probably viewed through a different prism. It's like, yeah, he's taking a leap. Maybe he can be there, but you don't need him to be. Whereas right now, you kind of need him to step up, as where the roster is presently situated. That does make me feel a little bit vulnerable here as you bring in Carson back.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me is you've had a role since Mario got here. First, it was Colby Young, who came on late his freshman year. Colby Young and Horton got here at the same time. So Colby Young, Horton really didn't do anything his freshman year. Horton, towards the end of his first year, remember that North Carolina game, he made some plays. He started to grow into it. Then the 2023 year, Young was ahead of Horton, right? Young goes to Yuga. Horton then steps up as the star. Young was doing his thing in Georgia as well until he got all his allegations and everything that he's since apparently sorted out. So that role's been different people at different times. Right now it's CJ Daniels. So the question is, can CJ Daniels do what they did and at a higher level? I think if you took CJ Daniels at Liberty, which is 2 years ago now, he was better than what Young was here, what Young was at Georgia, and what Horton was here. So if we get that CJ Daniels, he's going to be better than those guys, at least here. Who knows what Horton will become now at Alabama. But he's coming off an injury, so you got to see if he comes back healthy. I thought he looked pretty healthy in the limited time he had there at the end of spring. But that's really going to be the question. To me, when you talk about Horton, it's not so much Horton versus Trader. It's Horton versus CJ Daniels from Liberty and LSU, and who ends up looking like the better end of that trade.
To me, it feels pretty obvious. Zay Horton is the most impactful departure Miami dealt with, right? That's the one that stings the most. Who would even be second?
We lost somebody good, didn't we? It's been a while, man. This portal thing goes so fast.
I bet you. My bet is like 2 weeks into the season, it's going to be
Riley Williams.
Riley
Williams for sure.
Riley Williams.
Yeah. Also, I think Chris Johnson is going to put up like some crazy plays.
If Riley Williams was in that tight end room right now, I'm not saying he's a future first round, second round pick like Arroyo, but
we did.
Well, we still needed to see it. I think he had a potential, but he hadn't shown it yet. But I would not be worried about that room one bit.
No, and look, I mean, it's interesting now.
And he would have been the perfect Pete. Like, he's exactly what I think that room. You still need someone to step up. We like some of the pieces there, but you need that big body tight end.
And look, Charmar Brown, the transfer from North Dakota State, the running back, he's still on campus. This was the winner of the FCS Freshman of the Year. Same award won by Cam Ward, Trey Lance, Shedeur Sanders. Some pretty good company there. Name of the awards, the Jerry Rice Award. So there's been some pretty good players that have busted out as freshmen in FCS. So he's making the move up, probably between us and Nebraska. He's still on his Miami visit as of this morning. He's hanging out with Mark Fletcher, Jordan Lyle over his visit. So we'll see how the whole thing pans out. But if he's there, now Lofton is your tight end more consistently, doesn't have to play as much running back. So that kind of solidifies those rooms. But yeah, the receiver question is still going to be one. Trevor Pena is visiting this week. I will have an updated bank on the portal either later today or tomorrow. So you'll get that. So we'll get you the latest on that, but that's something to watch. It's just how the tight end, the running back room all kind of coalesce, because you lost Asia Allen, you lost Chris Johnson, and you lost Riley Williams.
Yeah. I think Allen's going to have a hell of a year down at FIU. That's that in terms of like talents that they've had down there. I think that one's going to sting because he's going to be local. We're going to see those clippings over there, and he's as talented as a running back as they've ever had, probably. Especially when he gets to that second level, he's going to have such breakaway speed in that inside of that conference. So we're probably going to look at that one too and say what might have been. But
a lot of Dallas in that stadium after those first downs.
Yeah, a lot of dollars being fired off over the PA. But I think because of the nature of his game, the playmaking ability, the fact that he's in conference against a team that you're contending for Charlotte for, I have a bad feeling about Chris Johnson, just because SMU's proven that they can develop Miami castoffs or disenfranchised Miami players or disgruntled Miami players. So, and he fits that mold. So much so that Jalen Knighton is no longer there. There was some redundancy there. I know Knighton didn't really figure into the equation, but I got to tell you, I started having the old feels for Jalen Knighton, and I know he did a lot of wrong down the tail end. We didn't really trust him all that much, but he provided a dimension out of that backfield that I hope that Jordan Lyle can kind of fill, which is that game-breaking type. He can win you a game when your offense really isn't cooking. He can make one big impactful play by turning the corner and getting to the outside. And I still think Miami's missing big play dynamism outside of Jordan Lyle.
Yeah, and look, Jordan Lyle's bigger, so a bigger version of what the Rooster is really like 185. Jordan Lyle's a solid 200, probably 10. I mean, he's bigger than you think. At least I thought when I see him live. He's much more closer to Fletcher than he is closer to Knighton.
Is JoJo the second biggest big play threat on the offense right now?
We got to figure it out. We weren't really that much of a big play threat last year, and we had the best offense in the country by far. So it's an interesting team. Arroyo is probably the biggest big play threat if you really look at it. Although Restrepo made more big plays than you think, 16 plus yards per catch, which is on the very high end. But yeah, so we didn't have that last year. I think we probably need it this year. JoJo, Malachi Tony's he's not antenna Moss speed, but he can get down the field. You mentioned Jordan Lyle. We'll see. It's a great question. But just one thing about SMU. So I think you're right. What's going to happen is we're going to see Chris Johnson. I've said, I think he's going to, as he gets more experience, he's going to get better and better. And SMU is a good system. He's going to do well. His speed is just so rare. He's going to make it happen. So we're going to see him probably crank off an 80-yard run. It's going to be sent to all the group chats.
Yeah.
Just like Rashard Smith, your boy Pete last year. Here's what I'll say about the whole thing. SMU last year in yards per carry with all this explosive running game, 4.1, 81st in the country, 8.1 in the country. Miami, with more big backs, less explosive running game, 5th in the nation, 5.6 yards a carry, behind only New Mexico with that crazy offense, Kansas State, Boise State with Ashton Jeanty, and Notre Dame. So we had a pretty powerful running game that was not just short yarders, but also generated chunks. Maybe they weren't the 80-yarders, but they were consistently over 5 yards. I think SMU, yes, we see the big plays, but we don't see 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard before the 80-yard. Think of Cam Harris in that Rhett Lashley offense.
Yeah.
Or Rooster in that Red Lashley offense when it was here. We saw that. It was, 1 yard, -2, 60.
Yeah.
But, forget about that now.
I guess what I'm hoping for when Miami is truly back, it's, 4.5 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, 60.
Right.
That's kind of the math.
Yeah. Portis.
Yeah, that's kind of the math that Miami wants to get back to. That's the old Alabama running back room math. And this coach hasn't been saying any words. Like, that's the standard that Miami is trying to get back to. So when I see a guy like that depart, and you're so bang on with we are very early in the season going to send an 80-yard ripper of a highlight from Chris Johnson. And we got to be at peace with that, understanding that it's a game of musical chairs in that backfield. I still would have loved to have found a way. And I do think that it is a fair criticism. And we've talked about this in the past. When it comes to these game-breaking talents, there haven't been many in Miami's since, their run ended, since the Butch run kind of ended with those guys. I mean, Duke had some of that ability there. Lamar Miller also flashed some of that. But these are easy to identify outliers because they were so few and far between. I would love to get some more impactful game breakers because they're going to be games that you need someone to just make an individual effort and put the team on his shoulders. Luckily, we had that at the quarterback position last year. Luckily, you had dogs like Restrepo that would step up to the plate. Kind of want that out of the running back room too, because if a defense is locked in on your quarterback, we know that Carson Beck has a propensity to turn the ball over. That is a great equalizer.
And look, wide receiver room, I think too, you want, like we talked about that a little bit earlier, that you want that ability to stretch the field and go 70 yards in one play. We did not have that last year, despite having the best passing game in the country by far. So that's something I think they're trying to look at in the portal, but it's got to be there. And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
The one that kills me, and I say this every time, Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech and went to Auburn. He had a big price tag. I think we would have met the price tag. He visited Miami. He loved Miami. We just didn't have the quarterback in place. So he went to Auburn. Carson Beck is a million times better than Jackson Cleveland, at least up to this point.
Is it Jackson Arnold?
Jackson Arnold. Sorry,
yeah.
Jackson Cleveland's the closer for the Canes.
You were a big Jackson Arnold guy. I'm not letting you off the hook. You were a big Jackson Arnold guy.
I think he's got a chance in like a good offense like ours.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he was better than
Emery.
Yeah, but Jackson Arnold, who was in place at the time, right?
Oh yeah. As an option, I thought he was an interesting one. Now,
better than Emery.
If you're comparing him to Carson Beck,
no.
I mean, Carson Beck, has done it already at the ACC or at the SEC level, and also is very physically gifted. So I would say if you're comparing those two and you're Singleton, you'd rather go with Beck, but he didn't have that choice at the time. So that to me, if you circle Eric Singleton, that is the type of player that Miami needs on this team and would be smart to invest in. I think would want to invest in, right? Because it's trade-offs. You can't just say, I want the shiny toy in every single position. But that shiny toy is something Miami needs on this team. It's a shame it didn't work out timing-wise the first time. How many days we got left in the portal? 2, 3?
I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see. Where that.
EJ, good call out on Travis Benjamin. He was certainly a big play threat.
That's like that 2010 Ohio State game. Him and Lamar Miller went like 60, 70 yards.
Look, that game from a talent perspective, there was a major gulf between those teams, but the speed that translated on the road, and Miami got to maybe hang around in that game on that home fixture in Columbus more than they really had any right to, top to bottom talent. And it was those guys with their individual efforts that kept Miami and their fan base at least thinking that they could beat them. And in the following year, they did beat Ohio State despite that talent gap. They were in transition, right? You had
that was Luke Fickell was their coach. That was awesome. I think Lamar Miller had a long run in that game too.
Yeah,
if I recall. Lamar Miller, I think like the speed, to your point, took over in that game, and he had like a couple long runs.
Yeah, Miami this year, they got Virginia Tech late in the season. We'll see what kind of shape Virginia Tech is, if they've got any fight in them. It's a night game against the Miami Hurricanes. I assume Miami's going to be playing for playoff positioning at the time. So no matter what, you're gonna have some atmosphere to that. You're going to want to have some guys that are capable of individual moments of brilliance. You have one in Jordan Lyle, but you want to get more lottery tickets. You want to get to the point where Alabama was, where they had like 4 of those guys on their offense at any given moment on the field. We're not quite there yet, but what's a little disheartening is you keep getting guys that kind of fit that mold, and they realize this isn't the place for me over here in Miami. Let me go and join like the Island of Misfit Toys over in Dallas because they have a proof of concept. And that's a little disheartening. It is a worthy criticism, I think.
You just funny. You mentioned that Ohio State game. I went and pulled it up. This was so interesting, this game. So shows you how crazy, how quickly things can change here. So Miami wins 24-6. Al Golden is the head coach for the Miami Hurricanes. This is his first season, biggest win he had at that point. Ohio State has Fickell because it's the interim coach before Urban Meyer. So Urban Meyer obviously took Ohio State to a whole nother level at this point. But Luke Fickell was the interim coach. And if you look at their team, think about Ohio State receivers. Their leading receiver in this game was Carlos Hyde, the running back from Naples, 12 yards, 1 reception.
Jeez.
So they did not throw the ball at all in this game. Miami had Ja'Cory Harris. He played okay, but really why they won, Lamar Miller, 26 carries, 184 yards, 7.1 yards per carry, a 54-yard catch or 54-yard run. Here's what jumps out of me. We think of those early 2000 teams as having bad talent. I'm looking at and compared to Miami, true Miami or like a Georgia and Ohio State now, yes, the talent's not that.
We were a lot closer to the success of the early 2000s.
Well, we had players. I mean, again, didn't have the elite, but Lamar Miller, who was a good NFL running back before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Mike James got drafted and played in the NFL before he got hurt. Alan Hearns had a 1,000-yard season in the NFL. I'm just looking at the box score. Tommy Streeter got drafted. Benjamin played in the NFL for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Clive Walford got drafted and was a finalist for the Mackey. Chase Ford just got drafted, played in the NFL. R.I.P. to JoJo Nicholas, who had an interception, passed away tragically in a car crash. Jake Wheatclaw, I believe, is in jail for some heinous crimes. And then Dalton Botts, the punter. That's what shows up in the box score on ESPN. So taking back down memory lane, that was 14 years ago. P, were you at that game? Miami, Ohio State with Golden? You were in 2011. You were like a kid, right?
Well, 2011, I was there with my dad. Yeah, we actually stayed in Cincinnati, and we went to a Reds game the night before. We saw Chapman pitch.
No, this is the one in Miami.
Oh, that's the one in Miami?
Yeah, the next year.
Yeah. I was at that one. Yep.
How old were you that time?
2011, I was 17.
Man,
yeah. You're a kid. You're just but a boy.
Yep.
Well, now you got artificial knees. Although I heard you were out there in the
artificial knee.
I heard you were out there at the facility setting pics and showing off a little bit. We'll get into confidential stuff, but I heard you still got it.
I can throw the body around a little bit.
He does throw the body around. He's a hold-up center back. You don't see many of those.
I can play that ball a little bit too now.
Yeah. A little feathery touch.
Pete, who are those two soccer players that got a shout out yesterday?
David Silva and Pedri. Someone had mentioned Pedri here, and I was just saying how Barcelona claims him as their youth academy player, and he's not.
He's actually from the Canary Islands, or as we like to say, Islas Canarias, the #1 Cuban restaurant on the planet, on Earth. Mike knows.
Mm-hmm.
You're still full off your last time. How long ago was it?
I'm waiting to regurgitate it in 2 weeks like an anaconda and then reconsume it.
It was unbelievable. We got to get back there. It is just an unbelievable spot. The portions, the diversity of options, 7 different types of croquetas. If we had that kind of diversity in our offense under Mark Richt, we probably at least win the ACC in 2017, or at least get by Pittsburgh.
I do like the fullback dive though. No one saw it coming except everyone.
Marquez Williams was drafted. Don't let people forget that.
Do they have kimchi?
They do have kimchi.
Man, I love that flavor profile.
Korea and Cuba, look at it on a map, not that close together. Both countries love baseball, and now they come together on croquetas as well. And, they have communist history as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you look at North Korea and South Korea, you cut it in half. You see one side's balling on the bottom. The other side's all dark. You cut up Miami and Cuba in half. One side is balling, right? And the other side, not so much. So, good microcosm of how this whole thing works. But if we're talking about croquetas and we're talking about capitalism, look at this menu. It starts with the traditional, but now you've added handhelds, cubaritos. You got tequeños. Yeah, it's Venezuelan, but the people want it. They get it at Islas Canarias Dining Pavilion. They're in Dadeland Mall, right there in the center of everything.
South Korea's had like 4 presidents in the last couple of months.
Sure, they're all better than the other guy.
Yeah, up north, no doubt. I think it's going great.
That guy might not even be him. He might be dead himself. They might be replacing him with mass.
Yeah, but there's a great deal of unrest in South Korea.
They're still pumping out like great songs. I heard that Apate song, or what's the APT? You know a song?
I love your pronunciation.
You know what I'm talking about?
Apate?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard that one.
You haven't heard it was the number one hit. You never heard that song? You've heard that song. No one's heard this song?
No.
Comments. We never heard this song? Let me pull this up.
I also hadn't heard Yuga before today. So you're broadening horizons left and right, D-Money.
Look at this. It's a song by New Zealand and South Korean singer Rose and American musician Bruno Mars. Okay. Entered the top 3 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 and UK. First song by a K-pop female act to do so on either. You never heard this song?
No.
Listen after the show.
But I did get an audio note from a Georgia Bulldog athlete right now, so I'm going to listen to it and hear.
Absolutely not.
It's not.
Uga.
It's Uga.
It's always been Uga. It always will be Uga.
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 Yeah, that's the mascot. I'm trying to name the whole university.
So Uga. Yeah, they don't say UGA. Like if they go UGA and they want to divert from that and get cute, it's UGA, not Yuga. Shout out to the 2018 ATP Masters singles champion for that. Appreciate it. The Rizna.
Shout out to his son. I saw him catching some snook.
Yeah. He's in the dad chat. That's quite good. So you lost your voice watching WrestleMania, but you weren't at WrestleMania? You lost your voice like just watching it on TV?
I don't know if we're there yet.
Well, I just want to understand what's going on with your voice because it's a little bit bassier. And I went with a crew of guys. Like you've been on a WrestleMania trip before in Dallas, Texas. You were not there this year.
Yeah, it was my kids, sharing that moment.
Yeah, I mean, you're a family man. That's great. You're stronger than I. You're better than I. You were able to eschew Sin City. But you were missed out there. I came back. I'm in decent shape. My voice is pitch perfect. I was there.
Yeah, shout out to the Axe, by the way, the honorary Oos.
The honorary Oos, Sami Zayn of the WrestleMania trip. But I came back fine. Why do you sound beat to hell?
I was just caught up in the moment. So it was 4 matches in a row. We'll just cut right to it, Pete. We're going straight to the wrestlers.
Let's go wrestler of the week.
Maybe we'll go back to football at the end, so people have to stay begrudgingly. I got a Jackson Cantwell update coming in 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
So the flurry of you had the opener, which I thought was the best opener in Mania history. Honestly, one of the best matches I've ever seen.
Some people like try to push back and say the Hart brothers going at it.
That's always going to happen. And look, that was a good match, but in terms of nonstop action for 15 minutes and the level of pace and the crispness of a lot of the spots, considering how many like choreographed spots there were, and it wasn't that free flowing. I mean, they were pretty tightly choreographed. It seemed. Yeah,
it seemed like a very tightly booked scripted match. I didn't see a lot of spots being called. Shout out to the person that says, I may sound all right, but I look like hell. That's more fair. Although D-Money, you're a little jealous of this tan. I think this is the first time ever my arms have been darker than yours. Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to remove myself. So hold on. Do it again. I'm going to remove myself so everyone can see it better.
There we go.
No,
I'm there, dude.
No,
I'm there.
No.
I mean, use your eyes, Pete.
Yeah,
Pete, I'm there.
Looks more.
This lighting,
than D there.
This lighting ain't doing me any favors here.
I've been sick for 3 days, and I'm still gonna be darker.
But you got sick watching WrestleMania. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the virus or the fact that I was screaming because it happened right by match 5. My voice was gone, and the product kind of went away anyways.
I mean,
because after those first 4 matches, the day 2 card dropped off tremendously.
Yeah, well, you can only sustain so much. Night 2 was by far the better day. I think it might be possible to lose your voice watching something on TV. Like I think back to times that I like yelled watching the TV, not at an actual event, that I might have lost my voice. It's like World Cup is like really WrestleMania. That's just bonkers. And in home with my kids, like just yelling and if there was ever a match to do it, it was that match. That match was great.
It was a 4 in a row. We'll talk about that in a second, but real quick, Johnny Lagoon saying D Money looks tanner from the viewership. Got a quick story here, Johnny. So first of all, I'm going to call you after the show. Appreciate your message.
I'm going to stand over there
about appreciate your message about Japan. So I'm going to Japan on Friday with my wife for her 40th, and Johnny Lagoon gave me some suggestions, and she was pissed off at me because she says I haven't planned anything for the trip. And I'm like, baby, don't worry about it. I got a call with Johnny Lagoon. It's all good. She's like, Johnny Lagoon, what the hell's going? Like, they're supposed to plan this ahead of time. But Johnny Lagoon's got it. So appreciate you, Johnny, for making sure that we're good.
See the lighting here? Like, he's got better lighting than I do.
Oh,
he's got better lighting than I do.
This is a natural olive color. This is like some redness.
I'm darker.
This is some redness. This is like,
I'm darker.
I mean, this is
chat. Let us know. This is a big one.
Brandon saying I lose my voice watching every Canes game. I've gotten much more zen with the Canes, just because it helps. It helps with the ups and downs, like Middle Tennessee State.
Yeah, I got really zen watching the Canes when I was on Lexapro, because it takes away the highs too. So I didn't get so sad. I was just very even. But then I was wanting to down dose and get off of it eventually because life just had no zest to it.
Yeah, that's how life felt before Jay Lucas for me.
All right, let's get to basketball.
We'll get back. No,
we'll get to Mania.
You guys wanted to get into it. We'll get back.
We're gonna mid-card Mania.
We got time for Mania. Basketball. Pete, I've been spending some time around the facility.
Yes.
You've been catching the vibe. I know you're disappointed about the Bosnian Bulldog not working out, but I mean, this is what happens when you're big game fishing.
It didn't work out?
Yeah,
No.
I think it's a numbers game. From Miami's point of view, you got 7 guys in the building who are going to be getting big minutes, and then Bosnian Bulldog is Harun Zedno. Of course, he's 21 years old. He's looking to play a lot. I think he could have been a help for this team as a shooter, but obviously they're still working on some stuff, so they have to keep some spots open here. So yeah,
That's heartbreaking. You got me all gassed up on Bosnian Bulldog. I saw like our buddy Tende Tony. He was asking me about, are we getting him? I'm like, I don't know, but Pete has me like really gassed up on this.
Well,
guy.
there actually is some good news though, as sports mentions here. Caden Lewis is going to be visiting Miami this weekend. He is a top 30, top 35 player in the country, number 5 point guard in the country, who was committed to Kentucky. And obviously Kentucky has brought in a lot of portal guys here. Jalen Lowe, who there was some talk about him coming to Miami from Pitt because he's John Lucas's godson. He ends up at Kentucky, and it looks like a Caden Lewis. He is visiting Miami this weekend. We'll see what happens there. I can't gauge Miami's confidence there yet. He's a top 40 player in the country. So you get those guys on campus and try to see what you can do. He's not the biggest point guard in the world, 6'2", but he's a pure scorer, bucket getter from the DC area. People I've talked to in that area say he's probably like the second best shooter in the area. So he would be adding some shooting to the roster, but plays the same spot as Dante Allen. So Dante Allen is going to be one of the next guys coming to campus here now as he enrolls in May. So we'll see what happens there. I again, not sure about the confidence level yet, but you get a guy like that on campus and see if you can work something out.
Pete, what's the name of the guy we got from Slovakia, the forward, Timotej
Malovic. So again, I know I mentioned this story last week, but same agent as Nikola Jovic. And Jovic is a guy that worked with Andrew Moran pre-draft in terms of getting him ready for that process and works with him and Tyler Hero still to this day. So believe that was the connection there through the same agent as Jovic. And Malovic is a guy, these Euros coming in, they're not expecting to be here for 3-4 years, obviously. So you bring someone like that, he's looking to play a lot this year. And I think the expectation for Miami is he will.
What's next for the Bosnian Bulldog?
Villanova. He's on a visit there right now with his agent, and we'll be rooting him the best in his career.
Yeah, no, I'm a Bosnian Bulldog guy now, through and through.
Do we have a name for this? Guy's a Slovak. So
Yeah.
do we have a name for that incorporates his Slovakian?
So remember, I talked to Harun, so I could get a feel for his personality. I have not communicated with Timotej just yet. So I'm working on that. Hopefully going to be connecting with his agent here in the coming days. Yeah. But let me catch the vibe first, and then we'll start throwing I don't label the nicknames lightly.
No.
That's a very important
except when you say
process.
Yeah. Except when you nickname people you don't really care all that much. El Mike, El Big.
Kyle asking chances with Dame Sar. I saw that. I think Trenton reported Miami's been in contact with him, but I'd be absolutely shocked. No.
So look, I'm looking at it. Some famous Slovakians in American history: Andy Warhol, Slovak; John Voight, Slovak; Paul Newman.
Gonna have to put some faces to these names.
Dave Grohl, part Slovak.
John Voight was vomited out of the Anaconda, and then he winked at Jennifer Lopez in Anaconda. He's also Angelina Jolie's dad. Do you know who Angelina Jolie is? You don't know who Angelina? That's got to be a.
Yeah, she's on the list too. Oh, Jesse the Body Ventura, Slovak.
None of those names. Not even Jennifer Lopez.
Can we get back to Timotej Malovic, please?
You know Jennifer Lopez.
I know who Jennifer Lopez is because I was with A-Rod.
Yeah. That's what people know her from.
Jason Varitek, Slovak. Mike Piazza, part Slovak. Huh.
Kane.
No, it wasn't Kane. Mike Piazza.
He was a Shark.
Yeah, he was a Shark.
And didn't he sign with Miami?
I think there is a story like that. Actually,
I think he did come to Miami. I think he signed with Miami.
There's something there. I know he went to MDC.
Yeah, I think he was supposed to come to Miami and then came to Miami-Dade first. And then
you know who else was a proud Shark like your boy? Raul Banez.
Oh, yeah, we got a comment here. How about from Trenton Breeze? By the way, pull up Trent. Oh, Pete, you're not in the group chat. Hold on, let me send you a tweet here from my boy Trenton Breeze,
The young lion.
the young lion.
He's killing it on the news beat.
He is. I mean, him and Pete have completely dominated the beat on the basketball side. You know, Trenton probably more advanced as an actual player, so can provide more technical analysis than Pete's capable of. But news-wise, you guys are side by side on the top. A lot of Florida Panthers content from Trenton Breezy. You know, he's in the heart of Kentucky, man, in the heart of the Bluegrass State. He's an honorary Broward resident right there. Pete, pull up the tweet from Trenton Breeze I just posted.
Let me see. It could be one of many things. You never know.
I just sent it to you in
it
private
is.
chat. So Trenton Breeze shining on Trisha Cole.
I can't wait for you to pronounce this one.
So Trenton here. Let's see what we got. I didn't even know I was going to have to pronounce. Now I gotta make sure I'm ready.
You're going to pronounce all right.
So we got Candace.
Let's go. Let's get it out.
Pettico.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Candace
I would go with
Pettico.
Petticoat.
Pettico.
But yeah.
Yeah, Pettico's got a different meaning here in Miami, Florida. So Pettico, Candace Pettico, Trenton Breeze all over it, reporting the commit. First ever commitment tweet I've ever seen that had 0.2 assist listed in the stat category. Trenton, you got to do Candace a favor. Do not put the 0.2 assist part. I like the 48% from the field. You got to keep that part out of it.
Keyshawn George numbers right there.
Yeah, seriously.
When the ball goes there, candy, it ain't leaving.
But I will say, this is important size, important depth. Trish Cullop, top 5 class. We're excited to have Candace and really you're getting recruits, you're getting a lot of size in the portal, power forwards, centers, trying to up the rebounding, which was a weakness for women's basketball last year. You got guards from Italy, guards from Kadima, Israel. I mean, they're getting players from all across the country, and this is a top 5 class in the portal, women's basketball. So shout out to Coach Cullop. Shout out to Candace on her commitment. Mike, we got to do a full show on these girls.
No doubt. And you know how in the NFL draft, seeing guys bro hug Roger Goodell is a good sign of where you are in elevating the talent. Not just recruiting classes. That's a great, easy benchmark to hit there. But look at the talent that, just on the whole, to speak to the job that Katie Meyer also did in elevating the general talent around Miami. Obviously, they made it to an Elite 8, performed admirably, that close to a Final 4. They lost some quality bigs, and they felt that, and it certainly hurt them last year. These bigs, like Shide Wilson, she was a perimeter player. She goes to LSU. She's replacing Von Lith. Z Spearman goes to Tennessee, a historical power in that sport. Latasha Lattimore goes to Virginia. She entered the transfer portal. She's now at Ole Miss. She's projected. I saw a mock draft that had her go 13 in next year's WNBA draft. This is a former Miami Hurricane. So the talent is at the U being elevated. It's good to see that the men are catching up right now. Those guys are NBA body types. Certainly, look, you got a 5-star in the house. This is a great start for Jay Lucas. Trish had a little bit more of a runway. I thought she did great considering that she was kind of hired late in the process to a frustrating degree last year. And there was so much uncertainty. There were a lot of big-time prospects that were trying to line up visits, but Miami didn't have a final candidate in place, let alone an actual coach. Put the active staff in a bit of a bind. So this is a first full season of recruiting and getting those pieces in place. And I think we should all love what we're seeing from Trish.
Like and subscribe to this show if you have not done so already. Name to keep an eye on. Amarakai, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Amarakai Kimpson, 5'8" guard from UNLV, just under 15 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 50%, 37 from 3, 83 from the line. So, yeah, there's some talent coming in here from multiple spots. We'll have that covered.
Couple more things on the men's side real quick.
Wait, you really don't know Angelina Jolie?
No.
Huh. What if I show you a picture?
Potentially.
Okay. Keep going. I'm sorry.
It's a weird kind of period right now because the only guy who's like around is Trey Donaldson, and to be, he's been posting that he's there working out and stuff. So you don't have anyone else there really working out. So that obviously the staff is still trying to put together the rest of the roster now, but it's a little bit of a dead period for the staff in terms of being able to, work with these guys right now.
That's Angelina Jolie.
I can't see anything.
But that's Angelina Jolie.
I mean, I've seen like, okay, I can't lie to you. I've seen that face before, but I have
Okay.
no idea what she does.
The lips. She's an actress.
I wouldn't know. Like, I've seen her face before.
Okay. No,
but
I believe
I
you.
don't know who I don't know what she does she sing? Or?
No. She's an actress. I'm not making fun. I'm just you really fascinate me. So I just wanted to know. But she does look familiar.
I've seen that face before.
Okay, good. All right, that counts.
Anthony Manzano wants to know our thoughts on WWE acquiring AAA. And do you think the next company they acquire, CMLL, they'll probably just make AAA better?
Yeah. What?
Ooh,
Well,
now we're talking Studio Live, talking Croatian domestic league.
oh, I thought you were talking about the Mexican lucha promotion. All right.
Croatia domestic league.
Yeah. Man, Pete knows ball. Pete is watching some sicko stuff
Rijeka.
on soccer right now, but he's picking up facets to his game. He's like a sponge. He's absorbing things. You could be a center back from Indy 11, and Pete is going to implement one of your styles into his overall mold.
If you're wondering why there's no room for Angelina Jolie in that brain, he's got to save room for the Croatian domestic league. Rijeka.
And
So
for
make
my,
sure you
and
take-
for my wrestler of the week.
Oh, is it coming?
Going to Scotland.
Oh,
Scotland today. Hey.
All right, here we
Let's
go.
Kiss.
Steven Posada, baseball team is in the field of 64 guys. How come you haven't mentioned that yet?
Hey, that was a
Both-
big sweep.
Both D1 Baseball America have them in the field podcast. Or I get you, Steven. They're there. So we talked about baseball yesterday. We'll talk about baseball today. We talk about baseball every day. We got a big game against FIU. This is a team where they split the season series. You want to win that series for a million reasons. Obviously, the team is rolling heading into this weekend series at Fenway Park against Boston College, a series where they'll be favored. So yeah, baseball right now is rolling. We know they can do it as the underdog. Can they do it as the favorite? That's going to be the question, because they're going to be the favorite in some of these series. They're the favorite against FIU here today. They're going to be the favorite against Boston College. Can they take care of business? You got freshman pitchers. They've been outstanding so far. AJ Siskar, Tate Darius. We actually talked about both those guys on the Canes Inside Baseball podcast back in fall. I remember going to some of those scrimmages and saying, hey, we got some big right-handers that can go. So I'm not surprised that they're doing it. I'm surprised maybe at the consistency so far, given that they're in the ACC and they're not going against midweek teams. We'll see if they can keep it up. You hope they can. Not worried at all about Hugas and Daniel Cuvée starting to bring the power. Brian Walters moving to closer. Game changer. Johnny Lagoon saying P was gambling on Korean baseball during
No,
the pandemic.
I stay away from baseball, man.
Yeah. Not your thing?
I mean, I'm a lover of the game, but I just don't.
We're not good enough.
Yeah.
We need to earn you back. You're still saved in my phone as Mark Light.
Pete just can't connect with American culture in the same way as an outsider.
No.
It doesn't mean as much to him as the nation, the continent of his birth.
Pete is, I'd be quite honestly, the most interesting person in my life. There's no one that confuses me more. I think I'm finally on to like his close friends' IG habits of trolling.
It's not. I mean, nothing I do is a troll.
Yeah. You're a big Tampa Bay Lightning guy, are you?
Everything I do is everything I do is calculated.
Yeah. You want to get big Kucherov going again?
He commands the ice like no other.
He doesn't
Let me tell you what, buzz the cats, man. Buzz the cats.
Not a troll whatsoever. Tampa Bay Lightning are just a genuine passion of yours. I'm on the CIA website, and I was starting to read this to you before the show, and I'm curious your thoughts. This is, it's a slower time in sports. Do you mind? This is a bit of a tangent, even more than wrestling.
No,
Usually.
we don't accept tangents on this Wednesday show.
All right. So recently declassified documents. You can see I'm right now on the CIA.gov website. This is not a fake CIA website. This is the official one. This is where they posted declassified articles in their reading room. This was recently declassified. It was acquired via old intelligence that we acquired from the Kremlin back in the Cold War Soviet Union days. All right. So I believe this was from the 80s. According to this is the CIA's report on what they found in Kremlin intelligence. According to the KGB materials, a quiet, low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. I'm reading directly from this declassified report. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply, and then became a brilliant white light. In a few seconds, the spheres grew bigger and bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. That very instant, 23 Soviet soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles. Stone Pole Steve Austin. Stone poles. Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different than that of limestone.
Yeah, limestone. Interesting. That is what sits underneath us here in Florida. Owes to our unique habitat. That same effect happened to certain people in attendance at practice when they got to see Elijah Lofton play running back and tight end and be utilized in that kind of unique fat. No one's ever seen it before. Kind of like how those 2 players or 2 soldiers, I guess it was 2 aliens.
It was
combined
more than one
into one
spherical shape,
similar to Lofton, where he's a running back, but also a tight end and a wide receiver. So in many respects combines and then presents as an ultimate weapon, which those onlookers that saw that this spring, some of them did in fact turn to limestone.
Yeah,
so I could see this being accurate.
You're not the first person to call Elijah Lofton an alien. So yeah, but this is stuff that our government put out there. Now you can believe it if you want. Like, this is intelligence that the CIA felt was strong enough to write a report on. So
remember that in China when they had all those stone soldiers? Maybe they saw the aliens and they just got stayed like that. Are they limestone?
That's a great theory. I'm pretty certain that's not the case. But everything is within the realm of possibility now that things are getting declassified more and more. There was another declassified report that confirmed the existence of the Ark of the Covenant, said that it was guarded by an entity. And it was like, no, it's legit. We know where it is, but we can't go get it. That was also
melt your face like in Indiana Jones.
It was guarded by entities. That's just like they couldn't actually get near it because it was guarded. This was declassified CIA documents.
Huh.
Carlos Montilla says I was right. Piazza played sparingly for the Hurricanes 1 year before transferring to Dade.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Carlos. Carlos,
what do you got on the Soviet Union alien stone situation? Let us know the actual scoop here.
I'm always curious as to why people react to that. Like the general idea is to believe it, even though the government has straight up told us that UAPs, UFOs, they exist. The only thing that we can't really wrap our mind around is, intelligent life that might be behind this. You'll still have some people theorize like it could be some government with advanced technology, a top secret project out there. We really cannot comprehend the existence of life there because it's shattering to so many deities here on the planet. It's just kind of like, oh man, I'm too worried about Miami secondary. I cannot worry about aliens that can morph together into a white ball of light that'll turn me into limestone.
Christianville does ask the right question here. Can the alien play safety?
Juan Manuel's saying here, we know this, Ryan. Read Richard Dolan, the best historic ufologist,
Yeah, ufologist. Is it ufologist? I don't think that's is that the clinical term?
You should read about the Virginia 96 incident. It will blow your mind.
Yeah, send it along.
Let me tell you something. You guys think I'm cultured. Juan Manuel is cultured.
That's great. And
the Virginia UFO incidents involves a series of events in 1996 when residents of Virginia, Brazil, claimed seeing one or more strange creatures and at least one identified flying UFO. The reports garnered extensive media coverage. Others associated claims include the capture of one or more extraterrestrial beings by Brazilian authorities, animal fatalities at a zoo, and a woman impregnated by an extraterrestrial. 1996. Are there any people in that age cohort, Pete, that were good at soccer?
A woman was impregnated according
96.
Wow.
What year?
Oh, wait, was that just
where?
I think that was a scene in Signs.
It was. Remember that was in Brazil?
Yeah. Is that what happened?
That's it.
That's the scene in Signs that you just read from, but I don't remember anybody getting pregnant there. I do remember Joaquin Phoenix and Mel Gibson nailing down a door that was a pull-out door. Like they'd put all these wooden planks there, and it's like, let's block the door. It was just they secured the wrong side.
I like that movie.
Signs?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that moment in Virginia, that the alien just like kind of hits him with that. That's still to this day gives me chills, goosebumps. Swing away. That's when M. Night had it cooking.
Gray alien dolls are sold with soccer uniforms in Virginia.
Oh, so it's like kind of the Roswell.
We get a lot of UFO wrecks in the chat. We got the 94 aerial school incident.
Okay.
Vote from Brian and Juan Manuel
That was
Ventura.
in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Pete, that's your beat.
Yeah.
Moment of contact from Strichanville. Man, everybody's talking aliens in the chat. Does everybody know about aliens except for like, I don't know, like us? We're late on this.
I'm telling you, like, we should be having regular discourse. Imagine the government telling you, yeah, aliens exist, which is a thing that happened. All sorts of things were declassified. The government has said there are flying objects. We got no idea who's behind them. They have technology, the likes of which we haven't seen on Earth. That should be the lead with Jake Tapper, man. I'm sorry. Like, I understand things are pretty crazy, especially it feels like every day there's something new. But I feel like we really should be honing in on this alien thing.
Yeah, it's you think there'd be more documentaries about it that are like actually well produced. I feel like all the alien documentaries are kind of crappy.
Mhm.
We had better documentaries for sex cults. Remember, we had like 7 sex cult documentaries in a row that were all like off the charts.
Yeah.
Now the alien documentaries aren't as good as those production wise.
Yeah. Do you remember like what was it Real Sex on HBO?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I remember like staying up late, like, I don't know, like, and it's just, you always expect something cool, but instead it's just like a nudist colony of a bunch of people in their 50s.
HBO did not have one
And you don't
sex
see anything.
show that was good for like a 7th grade kid. They were all like Sex in the City, misnomer of the year.
I love
The
Sex
girls
in the City.
As a kid, you like that show?
Yeah, I like the characters, well-crafted characters, although in
You were a
retrospect,
you were 7th grade Mark watching the Attitude Era. Then you'd flip after the Raw ended to Sex in the City, and you were enjoying it.
I mean, I was a horned up teenager, man.
I know, but it was like old chicks, and they were just talking the whole time. It was the most biggest lie of the name of a show ever.
they weren't talking all the time. There was plenty of sex in Sex in the City. What there wasn't was a character with redeeming qualities.
Sex in the City was a dud. The Real Sex Show, whatever that show was.
Yeah, Real Sex.
Right. It was just like people, like random old nude people.
Did like Cat
conventions.
House.
Huh?
Did like Cat House.
Okay, that was getting closer.
Cat House was good.
Taxi Cab Confessions.
House.
Taxi Cab Confessions wasn't that good either.
No, it wasn't bad. but Cat
HBO
House.
really, HBO deceives a lot of 7th grade kids into watching shows for like an hour that were not worth watching.
Cat House delivered. What was that? Was it Isabella Soprano? Was it? Was it Isabella? I'll Google it on my work computer.
Thanks for the declassified UFO report from Daniel Cardwell.
Soprano.
A lot of comments about the Travis Walton abduction.
Isabella Soprano. Is it Cat House?
Hurricane Dave, by the way, thank you for the super chat.
It is Isabella Soprano.
Hurricane Dave, thank you for the super chat. Said he used to have time to himself watching the L Word.
Oh my God. She wasn't. I mean, she's only 43 years old. I mean, claims she's from Exeter.
Who is?
Isabella Soprano. Exeter. Barely know her.
Huh.
Shouldn't we enter her?
Look at that.
I'm here all week. Not really.
Christian wants to know, where was your dad and all this?
My
Trying to monitor
dad
your
was
viewing
traveling,
habits.
man. I had the best setup when I was a teenager, and after my mom died, I moved in with my dad. And I didn't really know him all that much. He was a divorced dad. I saw him every other weekend. I mean, we were fine. I moved in. He took like a 6-month sabbatical. It was great. But my dad was on the road. He was a road dog. So
He drove around some NWA wrestlers. back
yeah,
then,
yeah.
right?
So he loved traveling, and it was, I mean, to be a junior in high school and have the house to yourself half the month, every month, like, that was great. It's a great deal. That's how I watched so much Isabella Soprano. And that was back then when you had to work for porn.
Lagoon is right. What's going on here? Johnny Lagoon doesn't know any of this stuff, man. This guy grew up in like a different era.
That was when that was when Attitude Eras had the Playboy covers.
Oh, yeah, Silk Stockings. That's another one.
Yeah, the saxophone. We got to bring back the saxophone to cue like sex.
Well, Cinemax doesn't even exist anymore.
Dude,
Does
they
it?
like, no. Well, it's called, Cinemax does, but Skinemax, I don't think does. That was another moment in time.
Yeah, the saxophone.
I think sex is slowly coming back in the movies. Honora had probably more sex in any single movie in terms of like individual scenes.
What movie?
Honora, that won Best Picture. It was
No.
a great film. I loved Honora. You would like it because you got a bunch of Russians like where you live.
Yeah, now I'm like feeling like Pete. I don't know any of these movies now.
Honora won Best Picture.
Was it like an American movie?
Yeah, it was an American movie about a dancer who doesn't like to call herself a prostitute, but she did that. She did some hooking, no doubt. She gets this oligarch's kid. They fall in love and get married, but then they realize, oh, this kid's kind of like a piece of work. And like the oligarch parents are like, you guys need to break up. So they send a bunch of Russian goons, and hilarity ensues. It's a great movie. I love it.
Kind of like Pretty Woman, right? Just a little bit with
Kinda like
with
that.
the parents involved.
Yeah, although I found it to be really funny. I mean, it won Best Picture, so watch Honora. It's good. It was my second favorite movie of the year, behind the Alien movie that came out. Yeah.
What about Danny Ramirez in the Marvel movie in Captain America?
You know, I love Danny. I'm happy that he gets to be an Avenger. I know that he's got some other art out there right now that has people feeling a certain kind of way about him right there. Wasn't as good as Alien Romulus or Nora. I think the Academy kind of bore that out. But Danny's an Avenger, which at least in our group chat is like the second coolest accomplishment behind filling in for Paul Feinbaum.
Oh yeah, shout out to Kevin Clark showing the SEC what time it is, filling in. Miami Hurricane grad, Miami Hurricane super fan. He's there on Feinbaum. So if you're watching Feinbaum and you see the quality improve, there's a Hurricane in that seat.
I like to think Pete didn't check out on the segment that we did.
Man,
that he's looking up at Zimbabwe.
I'm getting crazy texts about Caden Lewis, man.
What's going on?
I can't really say much right now. I'm just getting some texts.
All right. Anything on the Zimbabwe flight school?
No.
I thought that. Oh well, you were managing your other beat, so I get it.
Hurricane Dave asking about Wolves, the hottest club in Europe right now. It was Newcastle before Villa picked us apart, but
Christianville saying, "Isn't Danny in The Last of Us season 2?" Right? I heard that's good.
Yeah, people are feeling some kind of way about our boy.
Oh, was he a polarizing figure?
I ain't giving it away, but no, something happened.
All right, well, I got to check it out. Last of Us. I know the first season they used that Linda Ronstadt song that I made famous on the preseason podcast 2020, and then they used the song, and Linda Ronstadt got a lot of downloads, and they took credit for discovering the song, not realizing that it was the background for me and Pete and everybody crying about Kyle Wright getting stung by a bee and all the things that happened before that season in the decade of terrible Canes football. So
yeah, but you haven't really watched that show, have you? Last of Us at all?
No.
You can just dive in. You kind of got it, right? You kind of got the gist of what was going on. Yeah, there were zombies. There was this guy that was looking over this girl. And you can just jump right into, I'm sure they'll do like a whole recap, and you can do that and just jump in episode 2 and see what our boys' mentions might be like this week.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Big assignment for he and his crew this last week. None bigger though than Kevin Clark, as you said, filling in for Paul Feinbaum today. Appointment television.
Danny also did the narration for Cam Ward's Heisman video. It didn't work out because of the Georgia Tech game, but it was a fine. Who else has top A-list actors doing their voiceovers?
Well, I mean, Dana White did the WrestleMania one.
That was pretty good.
It didn't get well received over there.
Really?
No, not the same kind of audience. UFC, I guess, leans towards one side politically a little bit. Obviously, Dana hugely over with UFC. TKO, it's not. I know it's all under one big umbrella, but WWE probably on the opposite side of that aisle.
Yeah, well, definitely for a Mania, I think, because Mania you got like a lot of international people. Like I think Mania is even more so than what your average. I think your average audience is going to be just kind of depending on what city you're in. But definitely, you talk about a Mania audience, you're getting a lot of people from other countries. You're getting a lot of people that are just
they had a
different crowd.
In Philly, they had Meek Mill, right? Meek Mill did it.
Oh yeah,
that was before the Diddy stuff, right? I don't think he probably doesn't do it.
Was he caught up in it?
Meek's always caught up in the Diddy stuff a little bit. Not the same thing. You see that Kanye tweet?
This is the one topic that might get me to not say anything. I did see that tweet. You'll have to be
very disturbed by it, actually.
Yeah.
I feel people turned to stone after seeing that one. That was in the UFO files. But yeah, no, it was a lot. It was a lot. I actually had to block Kanye from Twitter because of the hardcore
That's what did
pornography. That he
Really,
posted
that's
on
what
his-
did it.
Yeah. That was my first comment.
That's what did it. That's what did it. Got a whole bunch of shoes. I have like a whole anti-Semite part of my closet that's just like, do I throw away these Yeezys? Do I throw away these Kyries? The Kyrie ones, I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna hold on to those SpongeBob's. It's a good basketball shoe. Yeezys, from a practicality standpoint, wasn't the most comfortable shoe for at least my type of foot. But you know, like he got invited back to the Grammys, and it felt like, okay, maybe we turn this corner. We're all here willing to forgive you. And then, like, I don't know if you saw the most recent thing, but
Yeah, no, that was
it was
a lot.
a bit of a shocking revelation. Which then essentially just like brought everybody out of the woodwork and said, okay, like all these rumors and stories that were out there. There was one rumor and stories shared of like a rapper walking in on him at a party and something was going down. You have all other people like, well, I guess it's true that now you people know out there because he just self-reported. Crazy times.
The one thing that got me was there was a tweet about his wife or whatever that girl is, and she was going to see a mental health professional for this. And I'm looking at this tweet, it's a serious tweet. I'm like, man, yeah, there's a lot going on, man. These guys need to talk to some professionals. And then she gets up and she's wearing like a thong. She's just like walking with her butt out, leaving the psychiatrist's office.
I mean, what happened to decency? Canes Cat Heat 305. You missed the baseball talk. We definitely gave the baseball team some love. You mentioned that it was a huge series if they could win it against Georgia Tech. I saw that they swept that series. I gave you a big old eye roll. Didn't think that those boys were capable of it. Canes Cat Heat 305. Big day last night though on the ice though. It was a rough day for Pete. Rough day for John Cooper and them boys. But that, my friends, is what everybody was afraid of. And we don't even have that
Long
back.
series, Ruiz. Long series.
We haven't lost our moral compass one. And surely there has to be an emoji for a compass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know he's serious.
You've
'cause
lost
there's no
your
emojis.
way.
There's no
No
emojis
emoji
in the
on moral
comment.
compass. How about you come correct next time? Wrestler of the week?
Well, I was going to get into the middle relief for the Miami Hurricanes.
Okay.
Carson Fisher, wanted to give him some love in between some of this, incest and alien talk. Carson Fisher, as a long reliever for the Miami Hurricanes, doing a nice job, throwing his sinker, very effective in his role, veteran presence, the bridge between the young pitchers to a Brian Walter. So shout out to Carson Fisher and best wishes to all victims of incest.
Do we name our episodes? And
Yes.
thank you for hitting that mark. I co-signed that.
The name of this one was CIS Live with D Money and Mike Ryan. Portal Talk.
Let's rename it Incest and Aliens, which I actually think is a Meek Mill song.
That was actually, yeah, that's pretty good.
We're entering the
I'm actually proud of that
extraterrestrial
joke.
portal.
I'm actually
Extraterrestrial portal, the Virginia portal.
I can picture him rapping over Incest and Aliens right now, actually. Not Kanye, Meek Mill. All right. What else do we want to
There
do?
you go. There's the compass.
Okay, there you go. And also, chat, just let me know your favorite name from the early 2000s HBO reality show Cat House. Just throw the names in there. We won't need to pull them up. I just want to see them.
1200 on, like and subscribe. Do not report. Join the discussion here.
Hey, we're just reporting the news. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we're reading straight from declassified documents and just asking if you saw that Kanye tweet.
We're just asking questions.
Mhm.
Asking questions.
Not telling you what to think, asking you if you'd like to.
So Mike,
Mhm.
you were in Las Vegas.
I was in Las Vegas. I
You were
just
there
came
for Raw
back.
too, right?
I was there for Raw, which I thought was one of the better Raw after Manias. I got back yesterday on a red eye.
Give me the whole thing here. Give me the breakdown.
The whole thing. All right. So get over there, land. Soon as I meet up with the boys, what are we doing tonight? And we don't have the stamina that we used to. I guess. What did we do that first night?
Even with the dropped weight, because I think everybody's dropped a little bit of weight before heading out there. I know Lasso's disappearing.
Yeah. Oh, we went to the Sphere the first night. We went to the Sphere, saw Dead and Company. 30 milligrams. I mistimed it. Got to be straight with you. Was there, enjoyed the first set, but they took like this 45-minute intermission. And I'm just like, man, it's hard for me to like stand on my feet right now. I kind of needed the music to get me going. And I'd already seen a good set and I'm just not a Dead and Company guy. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to bed. Probably miscalculated this one a little bit. We all kind of did go to bed. The very next day was pretty fun. We went to Encore Beach Club. Then we went to one of my favorite, in the evening, we went to one of my favorite bar hangs, Oddfellows. Shout out to Oddfellows. Reminds me a lot of Las Rosas down here in Alapata. Just crazy open format. DJ would go. You would love it. The DJ went from like Elvis Crespo to Depeche Mode to Dolly Parton to Fergalicious.
It's Presley, not Crespo.
Okay, thank you for that. In this instance, it was Suavemente, but I would love to hear Elvis Presley do Suavemente. And in the back room, it had a goth party, so we had a really good time there. I was like, you know what? From the night before my miscalculation, I'm going to sleep this one off a little bit because I have a big week in front of me, Talladega this weekend. I actually went to night one. Only 2 of us went to night one of WrestleMania. Had a good time. There wasn't what I would call a great match on the card. Main event wasn't a great match. It was a fun match, and it was a good ending that delivered on what people were kind of hoping for. I think for something that was kind of telegraphed, they did well with it. But sightlines in that stadium are great. Nothing really too much of that stadium, by the way. It's kind of bare bones.
Really?
Yeah.
Brand new is nothing, no sizzle in Las Vegas?
They really skimped on all the details there. That was in club level. It's, it just kind of is there. It is what it is. It just says, hey, we're big league, I guess, but you're not going to get the bells and whistles. Davis family, notoriously pinching pennies. Then I did see the people try to run up the escalator backwards. And Saturday I was staying at the Fontainebleau, which was the official hotel of the WWE. So my friend Ben and I, we just creeped it out like marks at the lobby bar. Gunther is the ring general's like really the lobby bar general. That guy's always at the lobby bar at WrestleMania. So you've come to find. Then the very next day, I forgot, we went to Live Beach before night one. That was great. Saw Guetta. Yeah, that's where I got the tan. Very next day was night 2. I had the best tacos I ever had. Tacos El Gordo. Went back-to-back nights. Had 10 a.m. tacos at Tacos El Gordo. The pork, by far. Wolf of Tacos here locally, like that was prior to that, the best taco I ever had. Tacos El Gordo, killed it. Night 2 of WrestleMania, you mentioned the 4 matches that they started with. Arguably one of the best women's matches ever, one of the best triple threat matches ever, one of the best WrestleMania matches ever. I think you could make an argument that it's all 3 simultaneously.
I agree.
I love the Dominic Mysterio moment. So happy for that. That crowd erupted, especially when he ran back in there. That was really cool to see.
Street Fight was good.
It over-delivered. I love Damian Priest's intro. I knew Drew would deliver at that moment. That was a really fun match. And these matches were over-delivering, I guess, because of the expectations. And as soon as the expectations on the card started to ramp up, like Logan Paul, AJ Styles.
Well, Orton was good too.
That was a nice pop with Joe Hendry. Like it looked like, oh man, we might have an all-time card here. And then something happened around AJ Logan Paul where just and it had potential. Like, are we already competing with night 2 of 40? And then nothing really memorable there. I'd say the Raw after Mania, which I also attended, was more memorable.
Yeah, I said that in the group chat. If next year's WrestleMania does not have a Samoan of some kind in the main event, it could be Kiki Omao. No, I don't care. Just get a Samoan in that main event next year, because I thought the style matchup between Cody and Cena, it didn't work. Too much of the same thing in the ring for me. Too much of the same thing on the promos. I said it earlier. I'm like, I don't know about this main event.
Mm-hmm.
This main event, I don't like how it's setting up. Not just the build. I just don't like the matchup. And it's just too much of the same thing.
When you match up like that and you knew Cena is going to slow down the pacing in this heel persona, that's where you need a good build. And I think they got lucky last year. Now, they got lucky to an all-time degree because they reverse engineered once a We Want Cody thing happened. They ended up getting the ending perfect. But if you remember, The Rock never went away. He was there throughout. So he was a part of the pivot. They pivot here and he's not available. And I swear to God, like if the plan was always the character that John Cena came out with on Monday night, I think people would view the main event totally different if he established that character. But he had like 5-6 promos in which that wasn't the character that he was talking about. Like he had all new nice little details to this character on Monday night that I kind of dig. And it proves that they fumbled it. They fumbled this build. You would have had people into that match. Look at the pacing in Hulk Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania 17. It's very slow. But if you have the fans, that's why I would have just been like, have the turn at Mania, because you would have had, if they're both baby faces, you would have had more of a split crowd, although that crowd was pretty split. I just think they'll look back on it, and hopefully the story will wrap up nicely, but that was a real big missed opportunity, I think, with Cena versus Cody. In the match, it felt like Cody was disinterested. I've seen people theorize that Cena came in like looking all pale, looking small. Like Cody's like, man, I'm really going to drop the belt here to a guy that hasn't won a singles match in 6 years. But good bit of business. I'm sure they'll pull out a win, but disappointing for Mania. I like Mania being a payoff, not necessarily the start of something.
Yeah, I think the rest of Cena's run will be better. I think he'll learn to be a heel better. Slowing down is one thing, but it's not just a slow. I like slow pace. It's not just a slow pace. It's working in. I mean, again, I go back to Roman Reigns. As you know, I think this build, the biggest thing that was missing was him as the champion, right? So when he was working slow, he's fighting the crowd he's not just sitting there. He's working the crowd into a frenzy. He's talking to the camera. There's a reason for the slowness. I think Cena is still kind of figuring out. I mean, he's been a face the whole time for a long. Roman had a long run as a heel, so he could practice. He practiced in the dome before the fans got there. Cena's like learning on the go while he's what? How old is he? 45?
Yeah. And I think part of it now is like they figured out the lane. Like, okay, we're going to ruin wrestling. So we're going to do things that kind of turn people off. But I think that that's like a rationalization for bad booking. And there's ways to do that smartly. Like, I don't mind the Travis Scott thing. Like, I think that's good heat. If he likes being there, like you can ruin wrestling by having the celebrity thing in there. It's just like, if this was the plan, you start those wheels in motion earlier than you did. And I think that they very clearly didn't figure this thing out until recently. And that's a problem with your biggest card of the year.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Got some comments here. First of all, John Lagoon saying, shout out to Harry and Jeremy from the Hurricane Team Store, MiamiHTS.com, Insight 20 for the promo code 20% off. Plus, they still got 30% off hats. Comment from Juan Manuel Ventura, El Grande Americano. Es un cabrón compadre. He cheats. Something is up his mask. Now, you have some inside information on this.
Yeah, I do. I'm in a fantasy football league with Chad Gable, who the internet often theorizes Chad is El Grande Americano. Now, we know that to not be the case because I've asked Chad, and my fantasy football group chat was a little bummed that he didn't make the card, but we know that Chad has gone on the microphone and said what a big fan he is of El Grande Americano, wears his shirts and whatnot. So this is the official statement. When I said, man, Chad would have loved this, he said, I'll get El Grande Americano the message. I'm sure he'll appreciate it, even though his English isn't great. So Chad, being a stand-up guy, relaying messages to the El Grande Americano. But yeah, not El Grande Americano, despite a prevailing internet theory, which is just, proven to be false. And honestly, social media needs to step up and own this a little bit, perpetuating falsehoods like that.
Back now, they're announcing him again from the Gulf of America. So he's got his homeland back. Excited to see where he goes, see where both those guys go in their post-Mania runs. Hopefully Gable can kind of get it going. Grande Americano keep going where he's going.
I mean, look, they have the most beatable world champion right now on the Raw brand side of it with Jey Uso, so he can honestly drop the belt to anybody.
He was over though in that arena, wasn't he? You were there on Monday. I was
so annoyed by that. Like,
how was the Monday one? It seemed like the arena was pretty.
It's
hot.
all he has, dude. It's all he has. I get kind of bothered by that stuff, even though I get the yes thing. Like,
yeah, I was about to say, Daniel Bryan, you can say, oh, he had all the work, but when you took away the yes from Daniel Bryan, it wasn't so good.
Yeah, but he could deliver a promo. Like, I don't know what's happened with this persona. Like, Jay is a good promo. I know him to be, when he was in Bloodline, he was acting his butt off over there.
Different audience.
Yeah, he calls audibles all the time, and he just does this day one. Like, just so annoyed with it. Get it over with already. To have Sammy give him a haluva kick and win his first world title. I hope that's where this is going, but I just don't want it to take 3 months because I can't watch this entrance anymore. It's not for me. It's for a lot of people with kids out there that like bright colors. I get it. I'll suck it up and I'll suffer the indignity of what the next 3 months of this Yi thing is going to be, but this is so grating.
Jason Santiago says, I think you guys should have a Miami Hurricanes forum with other Miami journalists, Canes Insight, Orange Bowl Boys, Dono, Gabby, and Coach Coop. Shout out to all those guys. I would love to see you just kind of do this shtick, bring up underage incest, and then kick it to Gabby Arrudia and for his thoughts. See how these guys handle.
I'd press him. I'd be all over him like white on rice.
Shout out to Gabby, Coop, all these guys. We're gonna have some folks on this show in the summer.
Yeah, we're gonna fire back a Cane Hurricane. You wanna do one of those again?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, we'll fire up another Hurricane.
Hell yeah. I saw people rocking that shirt at the spring game.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do another Hurricane.
Nick Abel, great show. Wow.
Which one?
I was worried this was going to be the one that ended or something.
I mean, he could be talking about the Raw After Mania.
He might still be talking about the cat house show. He might be late on this.
Did we get any names in there? I know I asked for cat house names, and then I marked out for a little bit.
Daniel Bryan, one of the best in ring ever. Huge difference. Yeah, I get that, but I mean, has he really gotten over since the yes?
I think so. I think he got over in one.
Oh, you know what? He had the wood belt. That was sick.
Yeah, that was great.
The wood belt was great.
Yeah, Kofi Mania.
Yeah, shout out to Daniel Bryan. I apologize. That wood belt was amazing.
Wow, I guess I'm the only person that watched Cat House, huh?
Pete.
Yes. Yes.
I didn't really give my wrestler of the week. It's Io Sky. I'll be brief. Io Sky had one of the greatest 2-night runs. The Stephanie McCourt match on Monday Night Raw. On the heels of that opening match, which we sang the praises of, Io Sky became an absolute superstar, a future Hall of Famer with that 24 hours that she had in Vegas. Your wrestler of the week, Pete.
Wait, hold on. On Io real quick. Shout out to Master of the Year, Tree and Dream. He was always saying that Io Sky belonged in that triple threat. I thought it should have just been Rhea and Bianca, but it turned out to be a classic. You couldn't have that classic without Io. Now you still have the Rhea Bianca, I think, in your pocket for later. So I was wrong. Shout out to Master on that call. Shout out to Io Sky.
No, she made a fool out of a lot of people, no doubt. The performance in there was an all-timer there. Do we want to close with Pete, or do you want to take it?
I'll take it. Let Pete warm up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm warm.
So
it's very warm in here.
I'm going with Braun Breaker. I don't want to follow him either. Let me go to Braun Breaker. Of course, the son of Rick Steiner. This guy's been a prospect ever since he left the NFL, where he was a fullback. I think he was a practice squatter for the Ravens as a fullback. Went to Kennesaw State, I believe. And then now
that's where Isaiah Thomas, transfer safety from Miami, just ended up.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Shout out to him.
That's why you picked him.
That's why I picked him. So he's always been a prospect, but I think he's really started to hit his stride. What he did in Mania in that 4-way match, I mean, he is so talented. My kids go crazy. They treat him like he's Goldberg. I think that's a good comp for him, just with the explosiveness and the way it looks different when he's doing some of these things. Ends up siding with Paul Heyman. I think just from a stock up perspective, Braun Breaker's ready to make that jump. He had been getting there just because he was so good in ring and his promos are good enough. And now with Heyman, I think you're going to see a next level evolution from him.
Wow. Shout out to sports for all the names. Appreciate that. I thought it was, I was really excited to see Braun Breaker get involved with that. I'm curious to see where this goes. I think Braun, I doubted Braun a lot, even though I don't doubt the physical tools. I didn't like the look. I didn't see the promo. I didn't really see the star thing that everybody else saw. You see the bloodline. It's undoubtable in the athleticism in the ring. I was just wondering how this guy would get over. He got over with his moveset. He got over with his ability to spear folks and be very believable. And now he's going to be working quite a long program here, it seems like, with Roman and whatever Heyman and Seth are doing. It's a great spot for the guy.
Look at this comment. I want this to be the thumbnail of the show. Juan Manuel Ventura. Gabby, I like Miami here for the Canes Inside Weird Sex Behavior Show. ... Io Sky. I love you.
I mean, I wouldn't put this show in a box. Like you're labeling the show there. We're just literally reading off the internet sometimes and just saying, "Hey, have you seen this?"
Jose Sosa somehow still around. Appreciate you. What's our chances with AJ from Houston today? I'll have an update on that. I'm trying to dig for info. I know he's on our board. I want to get the real story so I can give it to you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that today.
You also teased a Cantwell update.
Yeah, I was just trying to get people to stay through the aliens and the
cool.
and the incest.
Or Pete's wrestler of the week.
I'm going with Drew McIntyre this week. I can't say LP was a big fan of his when he first started in WWE. I loved everything he did when he left and went to the independents. Won the TNA Heavyweight Championship, came back to NXT and won their championship, continues to grow as a character, always good in the ring, has become an absolute superstar on social media. I was so happy when I saw him get his winning moment Sunday over Big Dame Priest at WrestleMania last year. I'm excited to see what they feed him because, man, he's en fuego. Let's get this boy some big feuds.
Yeah. Let's get this boy some big feuds. The best thing about these, you can grab the biggest actually mark that you saw in WrestleCon when you were out there.
Ben Axelrod.
You could get the honorary Oos in here.
Yeah.
Sit him right next to Pete and fact check him. And there will not be one detail one note that is wrong.
Yeah.
The heartbeat of wrestling, Peter Ariz.
Yeah. And it was a big NXT show last night, but he's still stuck with the main roster. I know he's usually black and gold brand through and through, but that was great, Pete. Thank you, as always.
LP. When we talk wrestling,
Yeah.
he's LP.
You got a song of the week, D-Money?
I do have a song of the week. So we've been on such a country music tip on the song of the week that I wanted to bring it back to the city a little bit, take it out of the country into the city. So we are in New York City, to be precise, Queensbridge. I went with Nas, It Ain't Hard to Tell remix. So that's what I'm putting here. Go to the Canes Insight playlist, subscribe to that. You'll get this song and others on there. It's on Spotify, Apple Music. I'm going to go with the It Ain't Hard to Tell remix. This is not the version that appeared on Illmatic, which had the Michael Jackson Human Nature sample. This is more of just a kind of like 80s style, just rhyming to rhyme sample. Classic song. Had a million lines that still ring true today from this song. Vince Carter got his nickname from this song, Half Man, Half Amazing. That was from this one right here, given to him by Shaq, who also got a shout out in the song. So this holds up. 1994. So what's this? 30 years? 30 years. Still holds up.
I was born in 94.
There it is.
Well,
Still
you were
as good
born
as it
during
gets.
one of the greatest eras in hip hop. That is one of the all-time albums. It's on most people's top 10, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. And this one, even those beats are hard to improve on, but I do like this remix and wanted to switch it up a little bit. We got to get we're too country, too much Merle. Bring it back to the city.
Yeah, want to diversify that playlist because you don't want people to subscribe and then the recommendations, their algo is all screwed up because of all the outlaw country that you've been putting on there. So great recommendation. Love Nas, one of the greatest rappers of all time. That's one of the best albums of all time. Great track off that album. Great pick, D-Money. My song is Cousins by Ye. And I'm actually seeing Pearl Jam tomorrow. Before I head out to Talladega over the weekend, I wanted to stay in town. Now, I could have, look, you heard about my time in Vegas. I got Talladega, the biggest party on the circuit coming up this weekend. I could have taken it easy, but I'm not because I wanted to see Pearl Jam live. Got invited to a concert over there. My favorite Pearl Jam song, Pearl Jam is 2 words. It's all right, Pete. It's all good. Pearl Jam is...
I actually thought it was a sort of like jam,
like
like
an actual
spread.
Well, I believe that the name originates from a reproductive fluid.
Oh, you know what their original name was?
Mookie Blaylock.
Yeah, that's right. You know Mookie Blaylock?
I know Mookie Betts.
Well, you were born in 1994. That's funny that you know Mookie Betts. And
That guy looks like Jim Rome, and the other guy looks like
He does look exactly like Jim Rome. I was thinking the same thing.
When I thought that was, and then honestly, that looks like Mad Dog Russo on the right with long hair.
Yeah.
Like if you gave him a
Eddie
wig.
Vedder does look a lot like Jim Rome in that photo.
It does look like Russo.
Did you put Jim Rome's face on Eddie Vedder?
No, I did. I actually, I was gonna text you about it before, but I wanted to save the joke for the show.
Yeah.
And
So
it looks just like him. And that looks like a Fowler on the left before he started lifting weights.
Yeah, Fowler's jacked. I see him at the grocery store in Miami Beach. That dude is swole.
Well,
Shout out to Fowler.
Didn't he marry like one of the old ESPN2 morning workout trainers?
Whatever happened to Body by Jake? Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Let's see what happened to Body by Jake.
So Pearl Jam, I wasn't a huge Pearl Jam guy. And then I got invited to a concert by Jonathan Zaslow, who friend of the show. He's a huge Pearl Jam guy. And he's like, I won this lottery for front row seats. I don't have anybody to go
Hold on,
with.
time out before you get into it. Did you know that Body by Jake is the uncle of Haley Stein, the Josh Allen's girlfriend? Who's
Really?
in the movie that just came out.
Huh.
Her uncle is Body by Jake.
That's
How you like that?
That's great. I'm glad you looked that up.
I'm glad I did too. Look at that.
What a family. I mean, Thanksgiving's got to be amazing over there. Incredible. So I saw Pearl Jam for the first time live in around like 2007, and then I finally got it. Total opposite of watching the Grateful Dead. Like, I understand why people like the Grateful Dead, the sense of community, the fact that they can get really high and just like sway because the music doesn't ask a lot of them. Not really for me, but the Sphere was cool. And Pearl Jam, I was a grunge guy, and Pearl Jam was always my least favorite of the grunge acts. I think it's unfair to classify them as a grunge act, but they were certainly peaking during that time, and they leaned into that aesthetic, and they were very grunge at the time. Their sound evolved. So I listened to their older stuff, listened to their newer stuff, and I grew a great appreciation to the point that I'd say I'm a big Pearl Jam fan. I think this is one of the great American rock bands. They always bring it live. They have a big sense of community themselves around their fan base. My favorite Pearl Jam song is this beautiful song called Sirens, which is a really touching song. It's nothing like their 90s sound. It was them kind of evolving a little bit. Their music had been mature for a while, but this was really like reflective, looking back on their lives, this album. So I really love Sirens as a track. I hope to see them play it. Every concert that I've seen them at, they've played this song, even back-to-back nights before. This song's so great. So it's probably, if you listen to this playlist to get amped up for something, I probably wouldn't recommend it. But if you like a nice eclectic mix, this is, I submit my favorite Pearl Jam song to you.
Look, I was going to go with you guys to the concert tomorrow. Work and travel kind of intervene there. Go with one of my close friends, someone I've been friends with for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Danny Diaz-Balart. I was worried because I know you guys are on different sides of the political aisle, let's say. I was worried it'd be like the pictures of Tupac and Biggie when they're friends. And then after everything happened, we'll go back and look at the pictures. So I was trying to kind of make sure you keep you guys together, so it doesn't turn out to be
It's going to be a great gubernatorial race at WrestleMania 60, I guess. We'll do the My Way music video package is going to be incredible.
Well, I'm going to be one of those. I'll be like the Paul Heyman. I'm just going to be hanging around trying to see which.
You'll go where the power is. And in this state, I have a pretty good idea. It ain't going to be with me.
I'll have Pete come and knock you guys both out and hold his hand up at the end of the match.
Well, actually, I can't run for political office anymore given the contents of today's show. Incest and aliens.
You can get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I want to. I certainly with the aliens thing. Got anything? I don't need to know more.
Yeah. I'm with you. Pete, what do you got over there?
I'm speechless.
Miami Hurricane Team Store, Insight 20% off your first item. Johnny Lagoon saying Pearl Jam is the KC Concepcion of rock bands. Very divisive.
I feel like that's another not so veiled shot at me from Johnny Lagoon.
Let me tell you, Johnny, that whip and dip meetup 2.0 is not happening.
It ain't happening. I see you invoke it every week, and I'm like, this guy.
You can go to Whip and Dip after you go to the baseball game today. You got Canes Cat Heat 305. Support the baseball team. Although I think today is not at the light, right? It's at FIU, right? Well, they'll be home soon enough. I mean, Fenway. If you're in Boston, Fenway Park, check out the Hurricanes baseball that weekend. But yeah, support at least on TV, watching, supporting these guys. I think it's going to be a great week for Canes baseball, but really it's a pivotal week because if this doesn't go well, all that momentum kind of turns around. I think it will. A lot goes to me today. This is a times tone setter today against FIU. Win that season series, 1-game series, and then move on to Boston College with Griffin Hughes on the mound on Friday.
You gonna say it?
I'm losing my voice. I'm waiting for someone else to help me out here.
I never know when the show's done or not.
It might be done for good. In fact, I'm suspending you for one full show.
What did I do?
Yeah, one full Wednesday show.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm off. Jack Tunney came down and kicked me off.
We need a mystery partner for me next Wednesday. So I will be working the phones, and I'm going to find out, and I'm going to keep it total secret. There's going to be a big-time mystery partner on next Wednesday's Canes Insight Live, Aliens and Incest, Part 2. Who is it going to be? Tune in next Wednesday to find out.
Go Canes.
El Grande Americano.
Yeah.